So for the third session, we're looking at components. This video will be quite short compared to the others because it's pretty straightforward putting components into our project using the Revit library. So to get started, you want to go into the architecture tab just at the top there. You'll click onto the component. Now you want to go into load family, and this will load up all the different categories of components when you download Revit. So they're already the default files. Go into load family. It should usually take you to the metric library. If you can't find it, use the left-hand panel, and there should be a metric library folder just on the left-hand side. You want to go into components, and here we can see all the different categories of components in the different folders. For an example, we'll just put a table in. So we'll go into furniture, should be furniture and fittings, and then you can select the type of component, different component that you want to put in. So we'll just put in a table, and then click open, and this should load that component into our project. Now to place the component, all you have to do is go left click, and it should place the component. Press escape twice to deselect that component tool, and then from here again we can move our component freely. To rotate our component, again we can use our rotate tool just at the top here, or you can press RO. Again, left click to start the rotation, either enter a number or left click again, and then it should rotate that component. We'll put a smaller component, so we'll put maybe a chair in, just to show the use of different tools around here as well. So again, go into component, load family. Now this should be in the same folder. So if I go chair, again, these components aren't the best looking because they're the default files for Revit. We'll just use that chair since I've already uploaded that. That's another thing. So once you've uploaded a component, it should already be in our type selector just at the top here. So again, choose that, select the chair, and we'll just put a chair for our table. Again, rotate it, and then you can move it either using the mouse or using the arrow keys on your keyboard. Now to copy a component, again, you can just use Control-C, Control-V. Okay, left click to place it there, or you can select it, hold Control, hold down the left mouse button, and just make sure you select it, hold down Control, hold down the left mouse button, and should drag out another version there. Now when working with chairs, it can be quite a hassle placing them around the table, either doing it one by one. However, if you've got the chairs in the right place on one side, to save you a bit of time, what you can do is that you can use the mirror axis tool. It's these two here. So what this does is that if we use the draw axis, what it does is that I draw an axis that I want to flip the chairs on. So if I just draw the axis there, again it will flip those chairs based on the axis I've drawn. Okay, so if I select the chairs again, using the other mirror tool, now picking an axis, it will either snap onto the midpoints of the table, or it'll snap onto any line associated with the table, or associated with the project actually. So if I select either this wall or something like that, so I'll just say I pick this line here, again, it will mirror the chairs using that line there. It should usually, the mirror axis tool should usually pick up midpoints on the different objects. So that should be in the middle, yeah. So that's quite a useful tool when you're dealing with small components like chairs. But basically that's how we import components into our project, importing the Revit components, the default Revit components. So again, you want to go into the component tool, load family, and again, pick whatever category you want to import into the project. Again, just sort your way through the different folders. Now the folders are pretty self-explanatory. The only one that's probably a bit difficult or probably a bit misleading is entourage. The entourage is pretty much people. Again, you can use these as reference or as scale figures really to kind of get a good idea on the size of the house, size of height, get a good idea on the space. Okay, so again, we'll just use that. Now, since I've already uploaded that scale figure, again, if I go into the component tool, go into the type selector, scroll down, I'll scroll up, and now we've got our different male scale figures. So I'll just pick this one. And again, if I go into our section, again, it just shows us, again, a good indication of the scale, roof height as well. You probably don't want these in your final drawings. However, you can edit them out in Photoshop. Having these there just kind of gives you the correct scale if you add in different scale figures or your own personalized scale figures. So that's pretty much how we put in the default Revit components. Again, using the component tool. So we'll look at some different sites that also offer components. Now, Revit City is the main one I've used. Again, it's quite communal. It's a bunch of different users that have uploaded different components. Again, there are thousands and thousands of different components that you can download. The only thing with Revit City is that the quality is a bit hit and miss sometimes. Some of these components are really good. Some of them are a bit they're really basic and a bit off in quality. But what you will need to do for Revit City is that you will need to sign up using an email. But once you've signed up and logged in, again, you can just search through the different components and it gives you the option to download them right away. And it will download them as a Revit family. So if you download them to a folder, there's two ways to put them into our project. Okay, so if you go into the folder that you downloaded them to, so I just use this one, you can either just double click and then it will upgrade the model to the current Revit version that you have. So if you double click it straight from that folder, you upgrade the model. Now the reason that when looking at like upgrading in the different versions of Revit, if you have a component that's from Revit 2021, you can't put that in a Revit 2020 project. That's the thing with Revit. You can always upgrade models, but you can't downgrade. That's one of the problems that I've kind of found. So just be careful with that as well. So make sure your Revit is up to date. Maybe make sure it's probably the most current version, just so you can always upgrade different component models or Revit families. Otherwise, if you have a Revit family that's a more updated version than your current Revit, yeah, it won't work, if that makes sense. So again, if you just double click the Revit family, it should open up the edit family tool. So what this does is that before it actually loads it into your project, it gives you the option to edit it manually. Now, with the components that you download from these sites, you can't go into edit type and change the dimensions there. You'll have to go into this edit family window and edit them manually. So if you wanted this bench top to be wider, again, you would have to draw that out and make that wider yourself. And you would have to, again, adjust all the different lines if you didn't want this one there or this one there. So you'd have to do it manually. Once you've kind of got it all finished or up to standard, again, you can go load into projects. Okay, so that's our project. And then it should load in through. Let's wait for that to load. And here we can see that kitchen. Again, left click to place. Just rotate that. Again, you can move it either using the arrow keys or using the mouse. So it's a bit off. We'll just leave that at that. So what I mean by the edit family, so if I go into pressing the table, or if I click the table, you can see we can edit the height as such. Or if I click onto the kitchen, okay, we can see that I can't really edit any other dimensions. So if I select this component, go edit family, okay, in this window here, that's where I'll have to make those adjustments. So if I wanted this bench top higher, I don't have to do it manually and draw it out higher. And so again, but it is quite there's like a bit of double handling if you do this. So make sure that that component is the right one to actually put in your project. Otherwise, you spend quite a bit of time readjusting when you can just find a simple model. So that's Revit City. Again, a whole lot of different options. The other site that I use is BIM Objects. Now, BIM Objects is for actual realistic models, and these are quite detailed models. So if we just go into this one, again, you will have to sign up for BIM Object as well. Pretty much for any of these sites, you have to sign up using your email. And again, it should give you the option to download. And you want to go into the Revit. And then it should say RFA. This pretty much stands for Revit family. These are the ones that we can actually put into our projects as components. So then you would go download. Let's go close it. So again, you can either double click to open up those components into your project. Again, to close this, you just go load into projects. So yeah, you can either double click these components and they should upgrade the model, or you can go into load family, find that folder that you downloaded them to, and it should save you a bit of time. It will still upgrade the model, but instead of taking you to that edit family, different window, it should just kind of load straight into your project. So pretty much that's using different sites that you can download those components, load them straight into your project. Another window that we can use, or another program that we can use that I use quite often is Inkscape. So Inkscape's free if you get an educational license, and it's not called components, but using the asset library, it's pretty much a library of all the different objects that we also saw the Revit components folder. So it takes quite a bit to load, but here again we can also see a lot of different categories, you know, trees, people, again different furniture, a whole lot of different objects, a lot of smaller objects. That's for Inkscape. Because it's a rendering program, it's probably used for interior renders, so you put in clocks, a lot more detailed, smaller models. Again, vegetation as well. So that's for Inkscape. So if you go up, so I'll actually put one in. So it takes a while to load because there's so many different components or different assets. So I'll just put a tree in. So it takes a while for it to load. But as you can see here, got a few hundred options for the different categories. Now, again, you can just select the asset and it should load into your project. So if you've got Inkscape, you want to make sure you've got the Revit plugin, because it will help with the transfer of these files. So once we've got that, it should load into our project and we'll just place it there. Now it doesn't look like a tree as of yet, not in Revit. However, it will look like the realistic version that we saw in that asset library. So it should look like that once we start Inkscape. But again, if you're using Inkscape, go into your asset library and you can put all these different components or different assets into your project. And when using Inkscape as well, it does look quite realistic. Again, depending on what kind of look you're going for. But yeah, I go for Inkscape because again, gives you quite detailed models in terms of trees and different people, different scale figures, using that as well. Also as well, you've got twin motion. Now twin motion I haven't really touched before, however it does, twin motion is on a lot of the university computers. And now twin motion does the same sort of thing as the asset library for Inkscape. It gives you a whole lot of different objects that you can put into your project, which will probably help with rendering as well. Again, you've got furniture, you can put in, you can put in trees as well, similar to Inkscape. And again, so this is using Twinmotion. It's a separate plugin, so for people using the university computers, it might be quite useful. Again, it gives you quite a realistic view, more realistic feel in terms of the trees. And again, you've got a whole lot of different options, all different objects that you can put in. Again, you can put in cars. So that's using Twinmotion. We won't go too much into the rendering so far, but again, Twinmotion's another 3D software. Again, they probably use more towards gaming environments. But again, it's quite useful because you can put in so many different objects as well. So we'll leave that. We'll go back to our Revit. But that's basically just an overview on the Revit components. Again, you can always resize, but when finding the right one, it's just a matter of searching, really. Again, there's thousands of different components, so you just have to kind of go around. Again, another store as well, another famous store is BIM Store and Atlantis as well. Again, with all these sites, you will have to sign up with an email. But with these sites, maybe with BIM Object, BIM Store, and Atlantis, these ones have a bit more detailed models and a bit more cleaner as well. Revit City does have some good models, but again, they're a bit rough. Some of them are a bit rough as well, and some of them are a bit old and seem real kind of outdated as well. So again, I'll put these sites into the description, or if you just search them up. If you just search up Revit components, it should come up with these sites as well. But that's basically it. Pretty simple going forward. For the next session, we'll be setting up the drawings, and we might touch on a bit of rendering as well. But that's pretty much what the components are for. They help with the rendering, again, help with showing you different functions or spaces, putting in couches, putting tables. So yeah, components are quite important. Showing different space, showing those different functions of the space, and showing scale as well. Yeah, that's quite important, showing scale. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and we'll see you next session.